Hey everybody, I'm Jack Hammer. Just wanted to come in and talk to you a little bit about the game from Sunday night. There's been plenty of things to point to as reasons for the 49ers' loss on Sunday night to Green Bay. And now that some time has passed since the game has been over with, emotions have been able to cool a little bit. I thought it would be a good time to come in and look how the 49ers lost and why it really should have been a surprise, and even talk about maybe who's to blame for this loss. One of the things that's been a key with the 49ers, or one of their philosophies, really since this regime took over, has been to build the defense from the front back. The belief there is that the pass rush is going to cover up some of those deficiencies in the secondary and maybe even the linebacker level, because the quarterback just won't have as much time to let receivers get open. Sunday night we saw the 49ers defense come out. First two possessions of the game for Green Bay, right down the field, two big throws, over 40 yards from Aaron Rodgers, results in 10 points right off the bat. And on Sunday night, overall, the 49ers defensive line was just unable to generate any type of pressure on Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers, recording only 2 hits on 34 dropbacks. And when you build your defense the way that the 49ers have done, that's just unacceptable. You can't expect to win games that way. And it was just a really dismal effort, really, from the front of the 49ers defense. Green Bay did a good job of taking away the pass rush a little bit. You can't just say that it's all on the 49ers side. Green Bay definitely had played their role in it. Rodgers, he averaged about, I think it was 2.39 seconds with time to throw, meaning that's how long it took him to get the ball out of his hands on average. So he definitely was getting the ball out quickly. But there was also the Packers using a tight end, running back, sometimes even a wide receiver to slow down Nick Bosa with the little chip. And the 49ers defensive end facing their third string left tackle for the Packers. And those constant chips just really took away any speed that Bosa had and didn't allow him to get around the edge. And then even when they didn't chip him, after the first series of the game, Bosa just really did not get any kind of pass rush on Aaron Rodgers throughout the game. Even if you go back and you look at at that last series of the game, it wasn't like the ball came out of his hands extremely quick. It took up almost 3 seconds on the throw to Devontae Adams for that ball to come out. So definitely something to take a look at there. Yeah, Dad asked, did D Ford play? Yes, D Ford played, but he didn't. D Ford played his normal 33-34% of the snaps, and in this game he just really didn't have any kind of an impact, and that's got to be frustrating for a defensive. D Ford, since the game at Detroit, really has been a non-factor. He didn't do very much last week against a mobile quarterback in Jalen Hurts. In some ways, he was actually more of a hindrance than a help. And then this week, he wasn't really around Aaron Rodgers at all in this game. So another bad one. First year defense coordinator DeMeco Ryans, he had few answers throughout the games for the chips. And there were a few change-ups when the game was on the line. There was one point where he had moved Bosa over to the left side, and they had Bosa and Ford on the same side of the field, and that actually was a really good pass rush. But when the game was on the line in the fourth quarter with 30 seconds to go, the 49ers defense came out and played straight up. They didn't do anything special. It was a pretty vanilla-looking defense, and they allow a ball over the middle for 25 yards on the first play of the possession to get all the way out to midfield. That just can't happen. The linebackers, everybody needs to be dropping deep at that point. That they've got to get to about the 40 on the other side of the field, and that's got to be your goal line. And if they want to go over the top of that, they shouldn't be able to. It should be a situation where your linebackers are dropping deep and your corners are setting up right about there, knowing that's about where their backs are going to get to, because you should be able to keep everything in front of you. And instead, they just drop the ball right over the top to Devontae Adams, who really at that point in the game was Rodgers' only real threat. And he hits him the first time. And then on the completion that set up the game-winning field goal, you see Bosa get knocked off his track by another pretty good chip, which completely eliminated him from the pass rush. And then the soft zone coverage behind it allows Rodgers to hit him again about 17 yards downfield and set up the game-winning field goal from Mason Crosby. And Sunday night, this wasn't the first time this season that we've seen the 49ers defense be carved up late in a game. This happened in week 1 as well against Detroit. And nobody really looked at it, thought much about it, because in that Detroit game, the 49ers were up 41-17. But they showed in that game that they cannot sit back in a soft zone defense and work. They just don't do well in that situation. You know, in this game, the 49ers secondary gave up 261 yards passing, but that's not even as bad as it was. They gave up another 81 through the air on defensive pass interference penalties, which don't go into the stat sheet as yardage for the offense, but that all totals up to 342 yards from the Packers passing game. In addition, the 49ers defense allowed touchdown drives of 80, 87, and 86 yards during the first 3 quarters of the game. So, the 49ers defense has played bend but don't break defense this whole season. Sunday night they broke, and you can blame it on the offense, but the slow start of the offense. But like I said at the beginning of this broadcast, they gave up long plays from the beginning of the game. The third play of the game, 40 plus yards down the sideline. The second possession of the game, 40 plus yards down the middle, beating the safeties for a long gain. So it's not like this was a game that the defense was playing stout and it was the offense that they were being worn down because the offense was playing poorly. They were getting beat from the jump in this game. And yes, the offense definitely needs to step up, as Jeremy mentions, but the defense does too. The defense was getting burned from the beginning of the game. Third play of the game, second possession of the game. The only thing that saved them on that first one was once they got down inside the 20-yard line of the 49ers. Bosa had the nice bat on the screen pass to the left that Rodgers then caught, and then on the next play you get the face mask, which moves them back, and then they do a really nice job on the running play there on second down to force 3rd and 33. And then at that point, Green Bay's just trying to get into field goal range. So they made a couple of plays to kind of save themselves at the end. Really, Nick Bosa made a couple of plays there at the end of that drive to save them. But after that, they were toasted. So that's the defensive side. And on the offensive side of the ball, they had their own issues as well. This isn't to say that this is all on the defense. Not at all. This is both sides of the ball had their issues. The first half against Green Bay played out nearly the same as it did the previous week in Philadelphia. You can't say it's a carbon copy because things were a little bit different, but here's the similarities. First 3 possessions, the San Francisco offense ran a total of 9 offensive plays. That's the same number as what they did in Philadelphia. The only difference was they got a first down on their first possession, which gave them a couple more plays. And then, if you remember, the third possession of the game was 1 and out when Garoppolo tried to hit George Kittle down the middle. Ball hangs up in the air a little too long. It's going to be a completion, but the corner from the backside of the play, who is in zone coverage and doesn't have anybody threatening him, is able to freelance a little bit and get over the top and make a really nice interception and pick that off. And it's a great play by that corner. It's a bad play by Garoppolo in that he just doesn't have the arm strength to get it to him on a line, and so he's got to put the air under the ball to get it to him, and then his ball just typically does what it normally does on a throw like that, and it just kind of dies about 3/4 of the way there. You could just see the thing just hang up in the air. Then on the 4th possession of the game, just like against Philadelphia, the 49ers finally cross midfield. They get to 3rd and 1. And the offense doesn't know the snap count. The ball gets snapped. None of the linemen except for Alex Mack move, and it gets stuffed for no gain, which forces a punt. Then, after giving up another touchdown, they're down 17-0. You get a long kickoff return by Trenton Cannon, sets up the 49ers offense in good field position, and they're able to put it in the end zone and score right at the end of the first half, just like they did against Philadelphia. So, the similarities between those 2 weeks are very uncanny. It's been basically the same thing 2 weeks in a row with that offense. Also, during the first half against Philadelphia and Green Bay, everything that has looked like a struggle for the 49ers offensive line. Like is often the case in football, it's not just one thing that's causing this. If you go back and you watch, rewatching the game after, just from the TV copy, it's easy to see why the run game is struggling and why the pass game is struggling. they're just not moving anybody at the point of attack. The offensive line gets no push. Alex Mack on the third play of the game. It's the first run of the game for uh, Trey Sermon. They try to run a toss to the right. Alex Mack gets blown 5 yards back into the backfield. The nose tackle is able to chase him down because he's basically running free, and it's a loss. And this leads into, also Jimmy Garoppolo struggling to get the ball downfield. That's another issue, and we'll get to that a little bit here in a minute. But let's stick with the running game for a minute. Kyle Shanahan is widely considered to be one of the best run game coordinators in the NFL. It's how the 49ers have been constructed. Everything that the 49ers do is really based off of their ability to run the ball. That's how they get the ball down the field in the passing game. When it comes to Shanahan and his offense, the exciting portion of it, or the big plays, usually come off of his play action, because when he has to play his drop back stuff, his drop back passing game is pretty vanilla, pretty standard. There's not anything that really to get excited about there. It's when they're able to run play action and then take their shot plays or do their stuff off of that this offense really does well. It's just not, and when you look at San Francisco's rushing offense, it's not good. It hasn't been good either the last 2 weeks. And right now it's currently sitting at 25th in the NFL in yards per attempt. They're averaging 3.6 yards per carry so far this season. That's not going to cut it. Some of that has to do with the running backs, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that the offensive line isn't creating space either. Now, that still doesn't even represent really how poorly the 49ers have run the ball this season. Go back to Detroit week 1. The first 6 attempts of the game, the 49ers gained 65 yards, which includes 2 carries by Raheem Mostert, which total, one of them was 11, one is 9. So you get 20 yards from Mostert on 2 carries. And then you get a 38-yard touchdown by Elijah Mitchell. Since that 38-yard touchdown run by Mitchell, the 49ers have rushed the ball 81 times for 250 yards. That's an average of 3.1 yards per attempt. There's one of your main reasons why the 49ers offense has come out of the gate slow, and one of the reasons why they're not being successful, and one of the things that's causing problems in the passing game as well. Forget what the subscription services try to feed you. Forget what PFF is telling you and some of these other folks. The 49ers offensive line has been struggling with pass protection all year long, all throughout the first 3 games. Last week against Philadelphia, Garoppolo was able to avoid sacks and was able to move around a number of times in the pocket. On Sunday night against Green Bay, the Packers are playing without their best pass rusher, but they're still able to hit Garoppolo 11 times. Think about that. He dropped back to pass 45. He got hit 11 times. That is 1 out of every 4 times he's dropping back to pass, he's getting hit. That's not acceptable. Compare that to what happened with Aaron Rodgers, who got hit twice in 34. And, like I said earlier, Rodgers was at about 2.4 seconds. I think it's 2.39 as far as his time to throw. On Sunday night, Garoppolo was at 2.63. That means when you look at that, this doesn't include the numbers from Monday night. I haven't taken a look at that yet. But as of the games that concluded on Sunday, that was the 9th quickest in the league on Sunday that Garoppolo was getting the ball out. And he got hit 11 times. You watch the game, Daniel Brunskill gets pushed right back into him. They blow a call at one point where it's a 3rd down, and Garoppolo drops back to pass. Trent Williams steps down, leaving 91 from the Packers, who's really their best pass rusher at this point, now unblocked. He comes free off the edge, untouched, and blows up Garoppolo in the backfield as he's trying to hit I think it's Mohamed Sanu over the middle of the field. The ball goes incomplete, and everybody's complaining about the quarterback when, in reality, you have an unblocked defensive end coming off with nobody touching him. And that's just, again, unacceptable. You just cannot win football games that way, especially against teams at the level that they're playing against. And despite all this, the 49ers were still in it at the end. Now, let's go back to the quarterback position. I've hit on pretty much every position up until that, so let's go there now. The downfield passing attack of the 49ers isn't there right now. And Garoppolo, with him, he's never been considered a good downfield thrower. So this is nothing new. Go back to 2019, which is his one full season as a starting quarterback, and Garoppolo averaged only 6.5 air yards per attempt. That number was third lowest in the NFL. That's the same as the 49ers are in now. They're at 5.8, which is even a little bit lower. A lot of that is because of the number against Philadelphia being so low with the number of screens that they're running, and even some of the check down stuff that Garoppolo was doing on his own to guys coming out of the backfield and whatnot. But again, that's the third lowest in the league. That's not acceptable. That's not something that works. And while the loss on Sunday night might shed a light on a number of difficulties, I think it is important to not lose sight of the fact that the 49ers are 2-1. And right now, the offense is tied for the 6th most offensive touchdowns in the league. So the offense is moving the ball. They're doing things, and they just need the biggest part with the 49ers offense is they've got to get it figured out earlier in games. They're doing a good job as the game wears on, but they've got to stay on the field at the beginning. If they're able to do that, it's going to go a long way forward to helping out a defense, which through 3 weeks has proven not to be up to the task. It's been up and down. And with tough division games coming up against Seattle and Arizona, the 49ers need to get this thing together quickly. And if they do, here's the thing. They play against the Seahawks on Sunday night. If the 49ers can go out and beat Seattle on Sunday afternoon, that puts them 2.5 games ahead of Seattle in the division. That's a big number, even at the beginning of the season. And then if they can find a way to go to Arizona and beat the Cardinals the following week, again, that's a big one because that would actually vault them ahead of the Cardinals and into second place in the division. So, as bad as Sunday night's loss is, I do think it's important to look at the team and realize they just went toe-to-toe with the team that's been in the NFC Championship game the last 2 years in a row. A team that has probably one of the best quarterbacks that they're going to face all year long. They were there at the end. They were up 28-27 with 37 seconds to go. There's a lot of room for improvement. There's definitely a lot of things to blame this loss on. But they have to there's some positives there as well, and you just need to look at that, both sides of that and kind of decide where you think they are. Real quick, I do have a question here that I'll jump on. Well, first off, let's go to this one. Let's go to Barry Baller. He asks, well, who needed to make the line adjustment to block him? And he's asking about the question. He's asking about the play in which 91 comes off the edge and hits Garoppolo. That was a mistake on Trent Williams. Trent Williams is supposed to pick him up. That question was asked to Kyle Shanahan yesterday in his press conference, and there was a miscommunication. He thought that the center was going to be going to the right, when in reality he was going to the left. So if the center was going was going to be blocking to the right, that would mean he'd have to step down. So the miscommunication, instead of stepping out and getting the end, had him stepping inside and squeezing that down. Miscommunication there. That's on Trent Williams, and that's the line adjustment that was missed, and the communication that was missed that ended up with Garoppolo getting smacked. We're going to ask, will the 49ers go to the bye week with a 2-3 record? There's definitely a possibility of that. I understand that Seattle is 1-3, or 1-2, excuse me. But they need to make sure that they and it's going to be a tough one. Seattle with Russell Wilson gives them a difficult task from a quarterback standpoint. They have 2 very good wide receivers. I'm not sure how good their running game is. I haven't really watched them enough to really get a feel for their running game yet. I'll have more on that as the week goes along. But if they can't stop the run any better than they've done, it's going to be tough. And a lot of that's because Russell Wilson moves around as well as he does. The 49ers have already shown again this year to have trouble with mobile quarterbacks. And quite frankly, if I was running the defense this week, I would kick Nick Bosa inside and run with Samson Ebukam at defensive end a little bit more. And part of that is to try to keep him in the pocket, or maybe instead of kicking Bosa inside, keep Bosa on one end and put Ebukam on the other side over where D Ford usually is, and have them try to pin them in. I think that would probably be the direction that I would go on that. So yeah, definitely you could see a 2-3 record. If the 49ers end up at 2-3, I think their season is um, on the brink. And at that point, I think you might see Trey Lance step into the game, then step into the starting lineup against Indianapolis in that Week 7 game after the bye. At 2-3, with the way that this division's going, you're out of the division almost at that point. So definitely something to be aware of, and that's a good call, Werner. And then JCK510 says, do you envision that many games this season will be shootouts? I do. I've said a couple of times leading up to this game, I said it leading up to the Philadelphia game, the 49ers defense is going to give up a lot of yards this year. They're not good against the run. And if you're not good against the run, teams are going to move the ball on you, especially if you have a quarterback that can make you pay. That's what we saw on Sunday night. That's what we're going to see on Sunday. We might see that a little bit against Arizona. And there's going to be a lot of games this season where the 49ers are going to have to go up and down the field and score 30 points to win this year. And if they can't do that, they're going to it's going to be a tough season for them. The defense is just lacking in the secondary, and the issues in the secondary were all there in June. You decide that you're going to bring back Jason Verrett, who had a really good season in 2020, no doubt about it. You decide that you're going to bring back K'Waun Williams, who has been a very good nickel cornerback in the NFL for a few years, for quite a while. Okay. You have Emmanuel Mosley as your other corner. Okay. And then you bring back Jaquiski Tartt, who is a good safety. The problem with with bringing back Tartt and all these guys except for Ward, because Ward was the only one that wasn't unsigned, is they all had extensive injury histories coming into when they were re-signed. Jason Verrett's never played double-digit amount of games in back-to-back seasons. He lasted one game. K'Waun Williams has never played a full season in the NFL. He's out and going to be missing multiple games. Jaquiski Tartt, he's been in there. We'll see what happens with him. And, Emmanuel Mosley missed the first couple of weeks. So, the 49ers had drafted a couple of guys in this year's draft, one in the third round, one in the fifth. The fifth rounder starting. The third rounder has been inactive for the last two games after being active in the first. And even in the first game when Ambry Thomas was active, he wasn't active to be a defensive player. He was active to be the kickoff returner. So right now the 49ers have a roster spot that's going to Trenton Cannon to do nothing other than return kicks and play some special teams. That's an issue. The way that this team has been built, going back to what I said earlier, has been built from the pass rush back. And if that pass rush isn't going to hold up its end of the bargain, your defense is going to struggle. And that's what we're seeing out of the 49ers so far this year. Let's see. Another one, if we see teams chipping Bosa again, how do you feel about some looks where we drop Bosa back into coverage, running stunts, just to change up the defense to be less predictable? Well, that's what you have to do. You have to move Bosa around. You can't just continue to rush him off the edge and just let him tee off on him, with free chips over and over again. Take Bosa, stick him inside, put Ebicom in the game, have Ebicom be the end man on the line of scrimmage, run twist out of that, which allows Ebicom to come up inside where you get Bosa back on the edge. Whatever you want to do, there's a lot of different things that you can do with Bosa. He's an extremely athletic defensive end that can play inside and out. And we saw the 49ers do this at the end of the Detroit game. So the lack of creativity that the defense showed on those last two plays of the game, or last three plays of the game, really is a problem, and something that needs to be addressed moving forward. They just cannot come out and be so vanilla on the defensive side of the ball. Jonathan says he feels like Mac is really struggling in the run game. He has a lot of trouble at the second level from what I saw. While Mac's having trouble at the first level, if you watch the game, both the last couple of games, he's having trouble in pass protection. What Mac brings you is the smart ability, somebody that's been in the league for a long time, and so he's going to get you in the right calls majority of the time. We didn't see that on Sunday on that one play, but most of the time he's going to be able to get you in the right spots. But he's definitely a long ways from the guy who played for Kyle Shanahan in Atlanta. And like we said, he's getting pushed around in the run game, and he's struggling in pass protection as well. He really is. He just doesn't. His foot speed is not quite as quick as it has been in the past. Let's see what else have we got over here. Barry Baller, this is when I was going to go to, says, let's not panic about the defense. Aaron Rodgers is a Hall of Famer. He got rid of the ball quick, which negated the pass rush. Yes and no. Rodgers definitely a Hall of Famer. That's not what I'm saying yes and no about. When I say yes and no, I'm talking about the quick release. And yes, there were times where he got the ball to his hands very quickly. There were also times where he held onto the ball and there was nobody around him. And a lot of that, again, was the 49ers just could not generate any kind of a pass rush. The 49ers really miss. Eric Armstead is a decent interior pass rusher. He's the best one that the 49ers have right now. But they don't have anybody next to him that's consistent that can win on a regular basis. And that, again, is when you had Bosa and Armstead and Ford and Buckner, and that's why you had such a good defense of 2019. You traded Buckner for a run-stuffing defensive tackle who doesn't even really play the run all that well and definitely can't rush the passer. And then we're wondering why their defensive line is struggling to get to the quarterback, or struggled on Sunday night. And on top of that, there was a lot of talk this offseason about how deep the 49ers defensive line was. Maybe the talk during training camp of that defensive line being so good was because they were going up against the 49ers offensive line during July and August. Barry Baller says, without Cannon, the 60-yard return, we get shut out at the first half. I understand that. What I'm saying, though, is the 49ers went into this game with four running backs active, plus a fullback. One of them played in the game. One of them. The only running back that played an offensive snap was Trey Sermon. That's it. The other three just were basically taking up space as emergency, I guess. 49ers tried to run 20 times this game. That's not going to work. The 49ers need to run the ball 30 plus times in a game generally to be successful. And if they're running less than that, they need those runs to be explosive, big runs, again, that open up everything else, and they're not getting it. Mike says, the Rams have done a good job turning over their roster since their last Super Bowl. They're debatably the best team in the NFC. Do you think the 49ers would be wise to follow a similar path? I've said this all off season. I know 49er fans like to joke about the Rams, but the Rams have been a much better team under Sean McVay than the 49ers have been under Kyle Shanahan. Part of that is because they've taken risks when it comes to their roster, and they've gone out and picked up big name talent. They've not been afraid to trade away first round draft picks to bring in superior veterans. And eventually it might cause some issues for them, but that's going to be down the road. And by the time that happens to them, they might be in another Super Bowl. They might even have a Lombardi trophy or two. They are a much better team this year because they have the quarterback that can make the plays. The difference from Matthew Stafford from Jared Goff is night and day. And the Jared Goff, and I think, is a lot of the reason why the 49ers have done so well against the Rams these last couple of years. They're wide open throws that Goff just would throw inaccurate, and that Rams team is the best in the NFC West, and it should be scary. Do you think the league will move to make chipping defensive ends illegal next season, or just going to be a normal part of the game going forward? It's been there for a while. No, it has been, and I don't see any reason for them to do that. It's the NFL, everything about the NFL is geared towards helping the offense. So to take a play like or the ability to chip a defensive end, which is going to negate offense, isn't something that I see the NFL doing. I don't see the NFL wanting to do anything that's going to help defenses step up and be able to make more plays. They want to see points. They want to be on the NBA on grass is really what they want. They want 50 points a game, 50-45. That's the NFL now, and fantasy football has a lot to do with that. Fantasy football has a lot to do with the way pretty much everybody views the NFL nowadays, it seems like, at least from the stuff that I read and see. Let's see. I'm looking through over here to see what we have. Tony asks, will Hurst improve things? Not really. Maurice Hurst is not as good as Solomon Thomas. Solomon Thomas is with the Raiders now. Basically, it was a swap of players there, and I think the 49ers got the short end of the stick on that one. I need to look back over the video because I missed Jack's reply about Kyle's end of game clock management. I haven't replied on that one. I didn't get there yet. There's a lot of stuff going on over here, and so sometimes I missed the comments as they're coming in. But what I'll say on the clock management is 49ers had the lead with 37 seconds to go. And he can't the only thing that Shanahan could have done was maybe tell the quarterback that he needed to hold on. Maybe that would have helped. Maybe it wouldn't. I'm not sure. I know how the situation played out at the end of the game. That last one, I think, Rodgers got down there and he's looking over the ball, and he's purposely letting it tick down a couple minutes. So, I'm not sure if Garoppolo letting another 5 seconds run off the clock necessarily changes it with how quickly Green Bay was able to get into position to kick the field goal. But the one deal on Kyle Shanahan, and I'm not going to give him too much of the benefit of the doubt here because you've got to go back. You got to remember, if you've watched the shows that I've done over the last year and a half, whether it was my own stuff or when I was doing the roundtables with all 49ers SI, or any of the shows with just Grant Cohen on his channel, I've been pretty hard on Kyle Shanahan with his game management. The game on Sunday night, I don't know if I put that on him as much, though, as the defense. They had the lead. The defense needs to step up and make a play. Just make one play in 30 seconds. That's all you got to do. Tony asked if I think Cannon will be utilized as a halfback next week. I don't think so. Cannon was brought in to be a special teams player. He got forced into the game because of injuries, but the 49ers are hoping to have Mitchell back this week, which could help that situation out as well. They don't have to move anybody to do that because Kerryon Johnson's already been moved back to the practice squad after getting called up last week. So let's just see real quick, see what else is there. Don't see any other questions at this point, but yeah, so I just wanted to come on and go through what I thought about the game and kind of share a little bit more about, this is definitely a situation where you can pick and choose who you want to blame this game on. I don't think it's any one person. Definitely Garoppolo has his spot in it, the offensive line, the receivers, this whole team. Last week I came on and told you that it was a great 49ers team win against the Eagles. This week was a great 49ers team loss to the Green Bay Packers, just to put it that way. Thank you very much, Tony. I appreciate that donation, and I really appreciate you guys all joining on the show today. I will be back. I am going to be here tonight at 5:30 Pacific time. We'll do an episode of Niner Chatter. I'll be taking your calls for about an hour. So let's get those in and be ready to go. During the Niner Chatter tonight, we just got to keep it a little bit crisp, and we'll try to keep it to about an hour this week. Next week we'll be able to have a little bit longer one. So let's get in, get out, and have a good time on Niner Chatter tonight at 5:30, and then also at 2 o'clock I will be on with Grant to on his channel to be discussing the game. Unfortunately, the film hasn't come out yet, so I'm not sure about doing a film breakdown, but we will be back here. So thanks a lot for joining. If you could hit the like button, click subscribe if you're not already subscribed to the channel, comment, do all those fun things. That'd be awesome. I really appreciate it. And that all helps to grow the channel moving forward. So have a great day. I'll be back with you all at 5:30 on my channel and at 2 over on Grant's channel. Have a great day, everybody.